Well, howdy, roofers. Welcome to Roofer Growth Hacks, the podcast that's dedicated to highlighting those in the roofing industry, learning how they overcame growth challenges with creative growth hacks, and connecting them with others in the roofing industry. I'm your host, Chris Hunter, founder and chief marketing officer of roofingsites.com. I'm also the author of The Ultimate Guide to Digital Marketing for Roofers. Well, I got a little story for you. Chris Crew is the president of the Blue Collar Success Group, an organization dedicated to coaching and training home service business owners. He helps service business owners enhance their operational skills, marketing strategies, and customer service delivery. In this episode, Chris shares some great advice about what service contractors should be doing right now to grow their business. So be sure to listen up as Chris shares some awesome growth hacks. Well, Chris, thank you so much for coming on to Roofer Growth Hacks today. We really appreciate that. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, your entrepreneurial journey? Where did it start? Where are you now? Who do you help out?
I'll make a really long story super short. The entrepreneurial spirit's always been in me. I've always been a leader, whether it be on the playground in grade school. At 16 years old, I realized that school was not the path that I was going to follow. I had no desires to go to college. Smart kid, just love working with my hands, and I had the itch to go out and start making money. So at 16, I quit school, and that's when the entrepreneurial spirit started in me and really got me going. And as chance would have it, at 16, I got into the trades. My grandfather was basically my father and said to me, the only way I allow this to happen is that you get into a trade that you will always have a job. And so I'm an electrician by trade. Don't judge me for that, by the way. I am an electrician by trade. And that journey took me through many, many stops, Chris. I've had an amazing opportunity. And I will say this, I've always make sure that I highlight this. The trade literally saved me. It pulled me from a place where I was, the old teenage concept. I was doing a lot of crazy teenage things, and the trade gave me purpose and desire. And so now today I get to live out trying to give back to the trades in general. They're some of the best people I've ever met in my entire life. They're always willing to help and always willing to lend a helping hand. But I would move on to do new construction. So I did new construction for a little while. I know what that's like. I did service and repair. I went to work actually for a company in Atlanta, Georgia, outside of Atlanta, which is where I'm from originally. And it was an electrical service company. And they were what at that time was called a progressive contractor, whatever you want to call that in today's world. But they did things like flat rate. They did things like you run the call today. It was just a lot different than what was going on. This is back in this is 2005. And so that, about 20 years ago, things were a lot different. That company would get bought out and they would franchise it. So that's how I ended up moving to where I'm at now. I went to work for the franchise in Sarasota, Florida. Okay. In 2013, I hung that world up in corporate America and got back to my roots and went to own and operate. Me and my partner would go on to build a multi-location, multi-state electrical service company.
Love that. Love that. So tell us a little bit about what you're doing now, though. What are you doing now? How are you helping people?
Oh, that's the interesting part, Chris. I say this without trying to come across like I'm firing shots, but everybody today wants to be a coach, right? Everybody wants to be a business coach. Mm-hmm. And typically what ends up happening is owners and entrepreneurs end up getting really good at their business. And they decide they get bored with that. They sell their business or they have somebody else run it. And then they go start trying to coach other owners and managers. My story is a little different where when I went to work for the franchisor, I was coaching and training at that time. And I found that I had a big passion for that outside of just operating a business. So, interacting with the people that are interacting with the end user, the customer, and really helping them working on strategies and plans. Then when I would go and own and operate, I just got in a success trap. And for those that are familiar with that, it's basically you get into a place where you're successful and you have no desire to leave, but it's really not your unique ability. And we define that through strategic coach Dan Sullivan, good at it and enjoy it. I was good at operating, but I just didn't enjoy it. It wasn't fun for me. And so I sold my business at the end of 2017, got out of that success trap, and went to work for the Blue Collar Success Group as a coach and a trainer. And so got right back to my roots. I mean, contractors they're fun to be around. I don't know how to explain it. They're good people. And so I find myself today as the president, running a fantastic team of other coaches and trainers today that help support the industry to be able to help people build and grow their business.
Love that. Love that. All right. The people that you help, who do you help the best?
The easiest person to help is the person that wants to help. I'll say that, right? It's like, I'm not a lifeguard, but lifeguards will tell you that when they're trying to rescue people, it's the people that just submit and let the lifeguard save them. Those are the easiest people to save. And so that's really the ideal. So when we are working with owners and operators, right? So we don't work with just an owner. We also might be able to work with their managers to help be able to skill them up. One truck operators that are just now getting started into business, all the way up to multi-trade, multi-state, literally empires. We work with private equity groups. We work with independent contractors all over North America, Canada. People ask, like, who's your avatar? And I'm like, what's really wide, man? We're trying to help a lot of people. And they always give me, you need to narrow that down a little bit. I'm like, it's just really hard, man. Like there's, when you look to help people, I mean, you look in the roofing industry, when you look at amazing upside opportunity, there's some major players, but then there's also people that are, like what I consider like small business, right? But they aspire to build and grow. And if nobody helps them, then they'll never be able to accomplish their goals and recognize their true potential.
Absolutely. Right. And I mean, we all got to start somewhere, and, God put us here for a reason. And whether that is to grow a roofing company or help a roofing company, right? That's whatever. You got to start somewhere.
Exactly.
So what advice would you give to, those newer folks out there that are just starting out in the industry?
It's kind of a loaded question. What advice would I give them? And this goes back, number one, I would say if you haven't read the book or get the audio book, it's an older book, but it's very, very powerful for people that are just getting started. And quite frankly, some people that are maybe stalling as they're growing their business, but they're at like a stalling point. The name of the book is called The E-Myth, written by Michael Gerber. And Gerber talks about how people have entrepreneurial seizures. I want to go start my business. And it goes like, Chris, I'm a great electrician. I'm great at electrical. You could be a great roofer. You can be great at the technical part of the business. But the best advice I give people is make sure you get the business education, because that's really what grows a business. You got to be able to deliver on the services that your company sells and offers. And you got to know, right? You got to oversee your team that's in the field. You got to know when they're feeding you a line of BS about a job, because you're like, yeah, that's not how that works. But I've learned that most businesses and business owners lack financial acumen, understanding how to read a P&L, understanding what the balance sheet, what's going on in the business by looking at the balance sheet, measuring important KPIs, understanding what that looks like, putting structure in place through an organizational chart, processes. Like, that's all business stuff. That's not, has nothing to do with putting the first shingle on.
Yeah,
so for sure. The best advice I would give is make sure that you got a good business plan, a good and good business acumen to help you along the way. You don't have to have all the answers. You just need to know where to find the answers.
Yeah, I love that. Absolutely. So beyond the E-Myth, right? Because that's obviously that's a classic at this point, right? And all entrepreneurs should read that, and the E-Myth Revisited as well, by the way. Yeah. Do you guys help people get set up with like EOS or anything like that?
Interesting enough, I just put my manual away. We practice EOS as an owner, as a company. We're actually just now getting started at EOS, but yes, EOS is a good platform in which entrepreneurs can have a system in place. So here's what I'll tell you. EOS doesn't give you the answers.
No.
EOS is the platform that creates the structure. And that's where a lot of us as entrepreneurs and owners, contractors, we lack structure. And so this provides a good structure for a business to be able to communicate and effectively operate together as an independent unit.
Yeah, absolutely. And, so we've been, my company's been on EOS since 2017, and we're not perfect at it. And I don't think any company that I've ever talked to is absolutely perfect at EOS unless they've got an integrator that's come in to help them, run it. And by the way, if you're hearing this out there on the podcast right now, you're wondering what the heck is EOS, look up the book. What the heck is EOS? Listen to Get a Grip. That's what I listened to. as an Audible book. And that's what sold me on it within minutes, of listening to it. Because I was like, wow, this is totally me. But EOS stands for Entrepreneurial Operating System, right? And it's not a software program. It's a way to run your business. So anyway.
Great book, by the way. We just started this last week, but I've always known about it, right? It wasn't something new. And I believe it's going to be super powerful for our business as well. And the reason why, to your point, Chris, it's the business hinges upon having a good integrator. And I'm very fortunate that I have a really, really talented person who is an integrator in this business. They are a get it done kind of person. They're the glue that connects everything in the business. And I'm the visionary. So I'm all over the place. I got tons of ideas. I'm always thinking about shifting and moving. And you know what's funny though, Chris? Most owners are the visionary type of person. And that's why their business struggles. They don't have somebody that kind of reins them in and keeps them on track.
Yeah, absolutely. And so one of the things that I've done just recently, and I don't know why it took me this long to do this, but I took the Colby test, right? And the DISC and, just all these different tests. And I've found out that, I'm a quick fast start, right? I'm a 3.393 on the Colby, right? So I'm I am horrible at, making sure that follow up. I'm horrible at implementing, I'm horrible at I don't need all of the picture in order to do something, right? But I'm really good at fast start. What's interesting is that my ops manager is the exact opposite. And we did that without really even knowing that, when he took the Colby, I was like, holy, this is cool, man. So
you're talking to a 3295, by the way. That's my Colby. Nice. So you and I are
exactly.
I explain to people all the time. Hey, if you said, hey, you want to go, you guys want to go skydiving? I'm like, heck yeah, we're in the plane. I'm like, hey, by the way, where's the backpack at that we're going to pull the parachute out of? Like, I'm that guy. I'm like, I'm already in the plane before I'm asking questions.
Yeah, exactly. Same. Oh, that's awesome. Okay. So what are some bigger mistakes, some common things, when it comes to, running a business as a contractor in general that you are seeing? What are some of the bigger things that you're seeing that you're fixing right away every single time?
A very smart man that I've been very fortunate to be able to have in my life as a business leader. He taught me something, and he would be considered, if there was a hall of fame for contractors, he would be in the hall of fame. Like, he's that guy.
Yeah.
He taught me one thing, and that was no business will ever survive until they get their services priced right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that means charge the right price. It doesn't mean charge too much, doesn't mean charge too little. It means charge the right price. The second thing that he taught me was, now you got to figure out how to get customers to say yes to that price.
Yeah, right.
And
exactly.
So he said, you do those two things and then you manage cost and you'll always run a successful business.
Interesting.
So if I could say to anybody out there, a lot of times pricing methodology comes from, I got a buddy in the industry and he charges this or she charges this, or, hey, I did some price shopping in town and they charge this. I'm going to charge a little bit less. I'll get busier. It's like, none of those matter. None of that. It's like, what's it going to cost you to build and grow your business? And understanding the numbers is what I would say is most, and it's a blanket statement. It doesn't mean all, but most owners and businesses don't know their numbers and don't understand the numbers. Therefore, they run the business by other methodologies, and it's super volatile.
Yeah.
Like for sure. Downturn economy, cash flow gets tight. I mean, just like that, like businesses go under like that when they don't have a good handle on the numbers.
Yeah, especially if your profit margins, are not where they need to be, right?
Yeah.
And totally. I talk to 4 to 5 different roofing company owners every single day, and this one question stumps them every single time. I mean, I haven't met a single one out of thousands of people that I've talked to that can answer this one question. And it's, what's your cost per acquisition for a lead? They have no idea, right? And it's simple math, right? How many leads did you get last month? What did you pay to get those leads, right?
Well, and Chris, I'll double down on that one though, because a lot of times, let me give you an example. If I'm looking for a cost of acquisition for a repair on a roof, that cost acquisition is going to be lower, right? Cost for a replacement is going to be higher. And so a lot of times that really freaks people out when they're paying, $300 for a lead to get a roof replacement. But I'm asking the question, like, cost of acquisition is a great start. Now, what's the ROI?
Right. There you go.
Because everything after that's 100% in your control. Like you as an operator, how you charge for the job, what the costs are that go into that job, what the profit margins are for that job, what the job sells at, like everything. And then if you're not operationally excellent, $300 leads will put you out of business pretty fast.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Right. Yeah. You gotta know your back end, your numbers. So I know you work with a whole bunch of different verticals, right? In the trades, right? What did you say at the Peach?
Yeah, Peach Trades. We refer to it as the Peach: plumbing, electrical, air conditioning, and heating.
Yeah. Yeah.
Peach, the acronym. Yeah.
So is there generally a gross profit margin that they should be shooting for?
So this is what I call the $1 million question. I see it a lot in social media where, managers or owners, hey, what gross profit margin are you guys running? What's a good number?
Yeah.
And I'm going to answer the question, but before I answer the question, I'm going to say this. If you don't count the same direct costs that I count as the same direct costs, your number won't be the same.
Yeah.
So I'm going to throw out a number, but if you're like, oh, well, we include fuel and we include this and we include this, and you include all those things in your direct cost, your margin's going to run much lower. But if I'm electrical, I'm going to run about a 65 to 67% gross margin. Plumbing will be very similar to that. HVAC is a little different because HVAC, much like roofing, you've got your replacement and then you've got your repairs, and your replacements are going to be very material intensive heavy. So gross margins on replacement jobs are going to be much smaller, but more gross margin dollars, right, for every transaction. Repairs, larger gross margin, less gross margin dollars. So it takes more repairs to make the gross margin dollars. However, depending on the revenue split and mix that they're running of how much of my revenue is replacement, how much of it is repair, how much of it is maintenance, you're going to run somewhere in the 50 to 53% gross margin.
Okay. Yeah. And that's typically what I'm hearing too, when we do start digging down into some of those numbers. Because honestly, when you hire a marketing agency, we've got to know your numbers, man. Because if you want to drive from College Station, Texas here to Washington, D.C., you got to have a map, right? That map right now is Google Maps, right? For most people, right? Yeah. But you got to have a map. You can't just generally drive. So, I 100% agree with you. You got to know these numbers for sure.
And I am, Chris, super passionate on that marketing component because I tell people all the time, you can build the very best business. And the way I liken it is that marketing is like the gas for the vehicle. You can build the fastest vehicle in the face of the planet. If it doesn't have any gas, it doesn't matter. Yeah. Right. So contractors need to be good at marketing. And what I recommend is you can't be an expert at everything. Hire the expert in the areas you're not the expert at.
Yeah, for sure. And of course, I'm going to agree with that because I own a marketing agency. But, but I was told a long time ago, you should hire out for about 3 different things, right? You should hire out your IT, right? You don't need to be managing all your computers and all that kind of stuff. You should hire out for accounting because you don't need to do that in-house unless you are an accountant, and keeping up with tax code and all that kind of stuff is just ridiculous. And then the third one, of course, is marketing because it moves so freaking fast, right? It is a moving target.
Well, Chris, the infrastructure that you got to have to be, and so like, I don't want to go on a tangent here, but like even in my business, I developed the marketing plan, but I deployed it with vendors, meaning like my digital, my TV, my radio, my billboards, I farmed all that out because I would need an entire team of people to do that. And then now marketing costs is extremely high. And so you can get it done much more effectively and efficiently by outsourcing it with the right marketing partners.
Absolutely. And if you work with someone who knows your vertical, knows your industry, right? It's just way more efficient because they already know all the keywords that you're going to use for SEO or the keywords that you can use for the pay-per-click campaigns, all that kind of stuff. So we're not here for me, by the way. We're here for you. So
We're
looking
talking
forward.
business, Chris. We're just talking
I know.
business, and we just
Yeah.
happen to be talking marketing right now. And I do believe any company that wants to build and grow, you got to be good at two. Actually, I would say three.
Mhm.
And if you really want to get super technical, four. But high level, you got to be good at selling.
Mhm.
You want to win in business, you got to be good at selling.
Yep.
And if you're going to be good in business, you got to be good at marketing. You got to be able to drive leads. And then every business I've ever seen that's super successful has a very good, strong accounting component.
Yeah.
And then obviously in the back end, if you do those three well, we have to make the assumption that you can actually do the work you sold.
Exactly. Right? Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Ops. Yeah. Most people concentrate on that at the very beginning, right? And as they start their business, they jump head first in and they start thinking about that thing. But as they grow, they've got to hire out for all of those other components for sure.
Yeah.
So Chris, let me ask, looking forward, right? You're pretty deep into the industry in general, right? What are some industry trends that you're seeing, right? And what should we be paying attention to?
Okay. So I'll date the podcast here, but it's August 2024-ish. It's an election year. There is a lot of, I'm going to say, lack of confidence in the market, the economy, and there's a lot of moving pieces. But the one thing that I believe that businesses should be focused on right now is protecting their confidence. And people aren't going to talk a lot about this. Where does that confidence come from? Knowing that I've got a good business plan, knowing that even if, and I heard a really wise man say this one time, and this was during the 2008 crash.
Okay.
Somebody asked him like, "Hey man, what's going to happen?" He's like, "Man, I have no idea what's going to happen." He was like, "But I can tell you this, however it all falls apart, I'm going to be sitting on top of the pile."
Yeah.
So what I'd say right now is cash is important. Meaning like make sure that you're not taking your cash and doing things with it. Sit on your cash. Cash reserves are super important. In fact, we were it's just a business fundamental, right? Having at minimum 90 days cash on hand. And then since 2020, I've been telling people you need 120, potentially 150 days of cash on hand. Don't necessarily have it sitting in a bank account, but you need to make sure it's liquid that you can access quickly. And so money markets and things like that, super important, meaning that I've got cash on hand. When COVID hit, it destroyed people because their cash flow knob got turned off. Yep. So if you've got cash in the bank, nobody's going to loan you money at that point, right? When the economy takes a dump, nobody's going to be out there just handing out $100 bills. So that's where you got to rely on your cash reserves. And right now, while money is not free like it used to be, it's not as expensive as people claim it to be. Yeah. But I do see this, Chris, right now because I'm seeing a lot of contractors who are running into cash flow challenges and they're going out and getting loans. And I'm saying right now, I'm not calling anybody by name, but there's certainly companies out there that do what I refer to as predatory loans. Super steep interest rates, very strict rules. Direct access to your bank account so they can withdraw the payment, like those kind of things. Listening to this podcast, run for the hills. Stay as far away from those people as you can. You want somebody that works well with your business as a partner when they're loaning you business. And I do advise right now, businesses, because things are good right now. If your business is profitable, I highly recommend that you go get a line of credit opened if you don't have one. Just go get it. It's going to cost you a little bit of money to open it. I'm not saying go use it. But I'm saying today, you need to have that line of credit because if it hits the fan, nobody's loaning. Great news is if you already got the line of credit, you already got direct access to the money. We've got some great vendor partners. In fact, one of our vendor partners does SBA loans. They're the number one SBA lender in North America. They actually have just came out with a new program that's a signature loan up to $500,000, funds within 3 to 14 days, 11% interest.
Nice.
That's a game changer for some people.
Wow. Absolutely. That's huge.
Sorry, I know I got pretty elevated there, Chris.
No, that's cool.
You can see I get passionate when we start talking this kind of stuff on business.
No, I mean, but that's something that we need to be looking at and thinking about as business owners is how do we protect our business, right? And if one of those ways is to conserve cash, right, to be fully capitalized in your business, meaning that you have that money in cash reserve set aside for those bad times, right? every business should be doing that right now, right? Getting rid of some of those loans too, so that you don't have that sitting over on top of you as well.
Yeah, really, really good point. I just got off the phone before we hopped on with a contractor, and he has been priding himself on paying cash for everything. And I'm like, dude, I love you, so I'm gonna shoot straight with you. That's the worst business strategy I've ever heard of in my entire life. Which means if I ain't got the cash, I can't afford it. I can't buy it. And I'm like, show me one business that was built off of using their own money. Like they use their own money for other things, right? So go borrow the money. I was like, you're buying your vehicles. And by the way, let me caveat this. This is a general blanket statement, and it's not true for every situation. But why would you buy a vehicle that the moment you buy it, it starts depreciating?
Yeah.
When you know you're going to retire that vehicle in 3 years anyways. Yeah. It's one of the most undercapitalized areas, which is leasing your vehicles.
Yes.
Right. So, and guess how much money it costs to lease a vehicle? There's no big down payment. It doesn't lose depreciation, and you don't own it.
Right. Well, and the other benefit is, and a lot of people don't understand this, the tax benefits of leasing versus buying, right? Yeah. I mean, it's huge, right? You get 100% of it written off every single year while you're leasing a vehicle.
And in addition to that, though, Chris, there's another advantage. If you're a very large roofing contractor listening to this, or you're a contractor of some other trade, there's a concept that's out there that's called fleet leasing. And fleet leasing is very simple. If you, as a company, meet the criteria of the company that does fleet leasing, they will basically lease you your entire fleet. Here's the great news. They came in, Chris, and they bought all my vehicles back from me. And more importantly, if I had a truck that crashed and I owed more on it than it was worth, the part where I was negative equity, they would then take that and roll that into another vehicle in my fleet and put the negative equity on that and shoot. And so there's some unique advantages to fleet leasing when you do that.
Interesting.
This is not a conversation for that, but once again, man, I love business strategy. This is where I enjoy talking to business owners about their future.
Yeah, I love that. And I mean, just even those few things, you're talking about cash, we're talking about leasing versus owning, getting that line of credit. These are important things. They're not related to marketing, but these are growth hacks, right? These are literally ways that you can grow your business and should be growing your business. Yeah.
Yeah. And keep in mind, a lot of times people are raised under that methodology that, I come from the poor side of the tracks, man. They're like, couldn't finance a piece of bubble gum if you would. So it's like everything I had to pay cash for. But it's like, okay, how do I get myself out of the mentality of you don't need it if you can't pay cash for it? And I understand the Ramsey concept there. I do understand that because America as a whole is not good at managing money as a whole. It's a general statement again.
Yeah.
Compound that with running a business and things get way shaky. So it is super important that you don't go opposite of that and borrow money for everything. Like there's good debt and bad debt. Only take on good debt.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Well, Chris, really love this conversation so far. Love where it's going, all that kind of stuff. But we're going to take a brief pause here for a message from our sponsor, roofingsites.com. Since 2018, roofingsites.com has helped roofers double their sales by getting their marketing right using the 4R roofing marketing system. If you're a roofing company owner wanting to grow your business, be sure to go to roofingsites.com and sign up for a roofing marketing strategy session with me. All right, we are back, and we're back here for the lightning round. Okay, we have one rule for the lightning round, one rule only. You have 1 minute or less to answer each of these questions. You ready, Chris?
I thrive in a competitive environment, Chris. So throw them at. What do you got?
Right.
Throw the heat.
All right. Question number 1. What is your favorite personal hack? This could be a book, podcast, whatever. It doesn't matter. It's as long as it's a growth hack, that's what we want to know. What's your favorite personal one?
Yeah, favorite. It literally has to be a book that's changed my thinking. It's The 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. It's a game changer.
What's interesting is that that's not the first time I've heard that one as a personal one. I have to read that one now.
It's an older one.
Yeah.
It's always a tough when people ask me that question because there's some really good old ones. I know a lot of people gravitate to the new ones, but I'm like, there's some good wisdom in some of our people that came before us.
Love that. Absolutely. Next question. What is your favorite business hack? Again, this could be a book, a podcast, whatever. Anything goes here.
Who Not How by Dan Sullivan.
Yeah.
Do I get bonus points if I answer inside of a minute? Just kidding, you're Chris.
Yeah, you're like this. Snap! I'm done,
Yeah.
man. That's good. Yeah. No, all right. So I'm going to dig into that then. Why, who, not how? I know it. I've read it, but why don't you tell our audience about it?
Conceptually, Dan Sullivan is actually, I was just at Dan's birthday. I'm very fortunate. I'm a part of his
Wow.
coaching organization. Dan owns a coaching organization for entrepreneurs, and it's called Strategic Coach. They're based out of Canada, but they're all over North America, Europe. Phenomenal. This is a coaching organization that people get there. They've been there for 30 years. Like, you get there and you stay. Tons of just thinking. And Dan's rule is, I just want to get you to think about your thinking. And Dan just turned 80. We were in Nashville, and I went to one of their events and got to celebrate Dan's birthday with him. But Dan is a very interesting guy. Like, he's super smart. He's on his toes. He's tied in with a lot of your Peter Diamantes and some of these guys. Gino Wickman, who wrote EOS, is a strategic coach member as well. Tons of people that you're going to know are in the organization. He actually wrote another book with one of the other strategic coach members. His name is Benjamin Hardy, but they wrote a book called Be Your Future Self Now. Very powerful book. Very, very powerful book.
Be Your Future Self Now. Love that. Yeah. Sorry, I'm writing it down. So cool. I'm a book nerd, so I read business books, and I have since I was I was given a copy at a very young age of Think and Grow Rich by he was kind of our surrogate grandfather. He had worked in that organization in the 50s, I think, 1950s and 60s. So he was a big believer of that whole group right there. And so he gave me a copy of that. I read it, reread it again. I handed that copy off to my kids, to read through. So
Chris, there's some of those books that are like that where I'm like, they're oldies, but man, like Stephen Covey, right?
Yes.
The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, Who Moved My Cheese, like From Good to Great, like all these, like Jim Collins and all these people, like they still teach some very, very timeless content. And this, if you're a big book guy, Chris, let me give it to you. Ready?
Yeah.
This is the one I'm currently reading right now, Smart Brevity.
Okay.
Yeah, Smart Brevity. And if you can see it, it's the power of saying more with less.
Okay. Love it.
Yeah.
That's cool. I'll put that on my list. I'm listening to currently right now, since we're sharing, The Greatest Salesman in the World is the name of it. It's written in a parable style, so it's super easy to listen to. That's one of my favorite style of books.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying it. But it was written in the 60s, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. It's timeless. It's timeless, information. Okay, Chris, next question. What is the best advice that you've ever been given, and bonus points? These are the bonus points for how you actually applied it.
This one's going to be pretty brash, but 2 things. The first one is never take advice from somebody that's more screwed up than you are. And how I've applied that in my life is, don't take financial advice from somebody who is broke. Don't take marriage advice for somebody who is been married 20 times and on 21, right? It's like, take advice from people who've been successful in those areas. But you got to learn to shut the noise out sometimes, because everybody has a thought or an opinion. And then this is the last one that I'll tell you as well and this one's pretty powerful, because if you haven't learned, I love to talk. I love to engage in conversation. And so sometimes slowing down and listening is more powerful than speaking. And it's this: if you think you have all the answers, you haven't heard all the questions.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good one too. Love that. Well, Chris, thank you so much for coming on. How can the Roofer Growth Hacks family get in touch with you and support you, encourage you moving forward? How can they join your coaching program?
Well, Chris, the best thing that I would tell you is we are a very content-focused company, meaning we put out tons of content. You don't have to buy anything from us. You don't have to do anything. It's very simple. If you go to our website, thebluecollarsuccessgroup.com, you're going to find there all of our social media handles, from Facebook to Instagram to TikTok to YouTube to X. You're going to find we put tons of business content there for you. So this is video format. It's coaching advice. It's training advice. So if you go to our website, follow our channels. That'll get you there. And if you really, really, really want to get on our email list, and yes, we're going to send you a bunch of emails, but it's going to have a lot of good stuff in it as well.
Yeah.
But you can actually just subscribe. So as soon as you land on our website, there's going to be a pop-up. We're not that company. If you exit out, you come back again, it's not going to be there. It's not going to be there every time. So it's going to recognize unless you come from a different IP. So if you just want to subscribe, right there, you can subscribe to our email marketing list, and we send regular communications out on business. And that would be really what I would say, Chris, would be the greatest response that we could get from listeners today, is just engage with our content. And then if it makes sense and you want to talk to me or any of my team about anything in business, you can always either use the telephone number on our website, or you can use the form fill and shoot us a message, and we'll be glad to reach out to you.
Awesome. Well, there you go, roofers. Make sure that you go engage with Chris here on YouTube, X, Twitter, whatever it's called nowadays, right? Instagram, they're everywhere, man. So go start listening to his content, and you're going to get some valuable information.
Perfect. Chris, thank you so much for today. I appreciate the opportunity, and thank you for everybody that's listening in today as well.
Well, how about that, roofers? Was that pretty awesome or what? I know that I have a ton of valuable hacks that Chris shared with us. I got to say, my favorite takeaway was when he started talking about the economy, and he was talking about how we need to project our confidence in our business, right? And wherever that you fall on the political spectrum doesn't matter as far as that goes. But we all have to agree that this has been a time of economic turbulence here. Okay. So he talked about how, it's really important right now to be preserving cash, and not necessarily cash inside of a bank account, but just make sure that you can get to cash if you need to get to cash. And he recommended that you have upwards of 120 to 150 days of operating capital, right, ready to go at any given time. Because if the economy goes south, it's important that you can continue doing business, right? Okay. Another thing that he shared, and I thought this was really, really a great idea here, is to have a line of credit. Okay. You don't have to actually use that line of credit, but to have a line of credit that's big enough that you can actually get to it and maybe give you a little bit of a buffer there. Okay. Just in case something does happen, you don't have enough cash to get where you need to go, and to ensure that your business is continuing to move forward. I thought those were pretty smart things. And then the last thing, he talked about that fleet leasing idea, right? I think that was great. Any way that you can do to preserve money flowing out of your business is super important, right? And I think that fleet leasing to preserve that cash was really just a great idea. Well, that's going to do it for another episode of Roofer Growth Hacks. I hope you enjoyed this episode and that you connect with Chris out there on all of the social channels. He's out there everywhere. Whether you go to LinkedIn or Instagram or Facebook, wherever, just go out there and go find them. I also hope that you connect with me on LinkedIn or Instagram or Facebook. You can also check out our website at roofingsites.com. And while you're out there, listen to other previous episodes of Roofer Growth Hacks. I want to give a huge shout out to our sponsor, roofingsites.com. Since 2018, roofingsites.com has helped roofers double their sales by getting their marketing right using the 4R roofing marketing system. If you are a roofing company owner wanting to grow your business, be sure to go to roofingsites.com and sign up for a roofing marketing strategy session with me. Also, this past year, I published my book, The Ultimate Guide to Digital Marketing for Roofers. If you're a roofing company owner and you don't have this book in your hands, I will send it to you for free. Just go to go.roofingsites.com and I'll send you a free digital copy of my book. Well, roofers, join me next time when we'll connect with another great roofing entrepreneur and learn how they hack their growth. Until then, I'm Chris Hunter. Thanks and gig 'em.